Hi there, this is Colin McGarry with Walking D-Day. Now we're here on the highland overlooking Gold Beach. I think the land behind Gold Beach is similar to Utah Beach. You've got this beach bounded by low dunes, and then there's marshy ground. You can see there's water down there, and then there's this high land. On Utah Beach you had a beach bounded by low dunes, then marshy ground, and then high land. Except on Utah Beach the marshy ground went 2 or 3 miles. Here it goes perhaps 500, 700 yards. So from here we have a great view onto the beach and to the Mulberry Harbour between those trees over there. Mulberry Bee. Now this would be a great site for a British memorial, because there wasn't one dedicated just to the British. Now there are 16 British cemeteries in Normandy, and there are soldiers buried in churchyards. There's also the memorial to the missing across the road from Bayeux Cemetery, but there is no memorial dedicated to everybody. Now George Batts, who was a veteran and the chairman of the Normandy Veterans Association, suggested this idea to Nicola Churchill in 2015. Now the idea took root and the plans were started. A group of British veterans were brought here, and unanimously they said this is a perfect site for a British memorial. And so the actual planning went ahead. The site was inaugurated on the 75th anniversary, and just the sculpture by David William Ellis was in place. The memorial was inaugurated 2 years later. It was designed by Liam O'Connor. Now, due to the sanitary restrictions at the time, there were just a few people here in situ. Most of the guests were the Arboretum Memorial in Staffordshire, and fewer guests were inside here with veteran David Milchrist. On site was also the American veteran Charles Shea. He was a medic on Omaha Beach, and he lives in Normandy. There's also the chairman of the Normandy Memorial Foundation. And Madame Gondry of the Café Gondry, Pegasus Bridge, she was at the ceremony in Britain, and she read some memories of the night of the invasion. The memorial was funded by £20 million from the Libor Fund and £10 million from donations. Now the banks were fined £9 billion for the Libor scandal. You should look it up to see what it entails. On the approach path there's a line of 5 monoliths which lay out the story of the Battle of Normandy, concentrating on the British participation. The first monolith is of course on D-Day, and the following week 156,000 men assaulting the 5 beaches with the support of 12,000 aircraft and 7,000 craft. This was the start of Operation Overlord and the race to build up most troops in Normandy before pushing into Germany, 16th of June to the 30th of June. The Allied forces had to learn how to cope with the bocage or hedgerow country. On the 19th of June, a storm blew up and lasted for 4 days. This held up supplies and nipped in the bud Montgomery's plan for a push on to Caen. Of the 2 ports, only Mulberry Bee survived. Operation Epsom, which was to take the high land east of Caen on Hill 112, and that drew to a stalemate. The battle for Caen, 1st of July to the 15th of July. Operation Charnwood managed to take the northern part of Caen on the 9th of July. British troops made an advance towards Hill 112 again, at great loss. 16th of July to the 29th of July. Operation Goodwood consolidated the gains of Charnwood by taking the whole of Caen. Dempsey wanted the operation to sweep to Falley, but the attack was halted just south of Caen. Saint-Lô had been taken on the 18th of July. Then Operation Cobra was a long-awaited breakout from near Saint-Lô, 30th of July to the 15th of August. 30th July was the start of the British breakout called Operation Bluecoat, which advanced to Mont. Operation Totalize was launched on the 8th of August by Canadian troops with British troops in support. That was followed by Totalize 2 and then Tractable in the direction of Falley. 16th of August to the 31st of August. The American breakout of Operation Cobra and the British-Canadian advance towards Falaise led to the formation of the Falaise Pocket. This closed on the 21st August. Paris fell on the 25th, and the Allied troops held all the ground up to the River Seine by the end of August. This was the end of the Battle of Normandy. The Memorial Court has a sculpture by David William Ellis in the centre. It represents men leaving the landing craft. On the facing wall, there's a well-known quotation from Churchill. In the centre is a speech by King George VI, and then on the right-hand side, part of the speech by DeGaulle on the 6th.
La bataille de France a commencé. Il n'y a plus, dans la nation, dans l'Empire, dans les armées, qu'une seule et même volonté, qu'une seule et même espérance. Derrière le nuage si lourd de notre sang et de nos larmes, voici que reparaît le soleil de notre grandeur.
The main wall has the names of 1,746 men who died on D-Day. On the wall and the columns of the pergola are 22,442 names. The names are not just British servicemen and women, but of other nationalities that served in the British Armed Forces. There are 167 pillars with the other names, arranged by date and service. The Navy, being the senior service, is listed first. There are 32 names on each stone. Name, rank and age covers 2 sides. Every person on these stones gave over 100% and has a story, but I can only mention a few. On the 6th of June wall is the name of Émile Corteil. He was mentioned in the video on Merville Battery. He was the regimental dog handler. They both dropped by parachute and were killed by friendly bombing. Exceptionally, both are buried in Ronville Cemetery. Den Brotheridge was the first man killed in action on D-Day, attacking Pegasus Bridge. He was leading the assault across the bridge and was shot in the neck. Brotheridge is buried in Ronville churchyard alongside the wall. Lance Corporal Greenhalgh was thrown out of the 3rd glider when it broke in 2 during the landings at Pegasus Bridge and drowned in the pond. Corporal Lewis Wilkes landed in Normandy with the East Riding Yeomanry. During Operation Charnwood to take Caen, he was commanding a Sherman tank and firing a turret-mounted machine gun. He was hit in the head and fell back into the tank. He died in the arms of Alan King. They reversed back to the first aid station, where he was pronounced dead. His crew buried him in an orchard, marking the site with his helmet. He now lays in the cemetery at Combe-en-Plain. Walter Harbach was one of the 338,000 men rescued from Dunkirk in 1940. He came into Normandy with the South Staffordshire Regiment. He fought in the battle to liberate Caen. He was killed on the 22nd of July near Noyers. After the attack on Merville battery, the Germans managed to get 2 of the guns working again, although at a much reduced firing rate. Number 3 Commando was sent in on the 7th to knock them out again. Major Pooley was killed in that raid. Molly Evershed was a nurse working on the hospital ship, the Amsterdam. On the 7th of August, it struck a mine. Molly and another nurse, Anita Field, made repeated trips below decks to bring up 75 wounded men to the lifeboats. They both went down with the ship. Molly's name is on the memorial opposite the Bayeux Cemetery. Stanley Hollis was the only Victoria Cross winner on D-Day. He landed on Gold Beach just down there. He attacked a machine gun on his own, then took out the gun battery with his men. Hollis survived the war, so he's not on this memorial. Sidney Bates didn't survive. On the 8th of August, Sidney Bates led a group of men into the thick of the enemy. This was near Sordeval, south of Saint-Lô. They were being surrounded. So Sidney Bates took a light machine gun and advanced towards the enemy, firing. He was hit, but he carried on firing, and the enemy was starting to falter. He was hit again, but he still carried on. And then he was hit a 3rd time, and he fell to the ground, but he was still firing. Now his action had forced the enemy to retreat, and for this action he got the Victoria Cross. In the corner of the memorial is a memorial to the French civilians killed in the Battle of Normandy. There were between 15 to 20,000 civilians killed. It's a sobering statistic that more French civilians were killed by Allied bombing than British civilians killed by German bombing. Down the slope, beachwards, are waypoints representing the 5 beaches. The British were mainly involved on 2 beaches, Gold and Sword, but were present on all 5. Utah Beach. There's a C-47 dropping paratroopers. The paratroopers coming down. There's a self-propelled gun. The vehicles coming off the landing craft. The men coming off the landing craft. And of course the gliders that brought the airborne in. And there's a Lancaster bomber. Of course the main bombing was carried out by B-26s. Omaha Beach. Many British ships brought in the men towards the beach. There's the B-17s bombing the beach. Landing craft coming in. Heavy casualties on the beach of the Czech Hedgehogs. There were British and Canadian minesweepers active off of Omaha Beach. Of course, Gold Beach is the central beach, and that's where we are. You can see the Mulberry to the west. There's a flailed tank leading the men through minefields. An Waverly with its petard mortar to break up concrete bunkers. A self-propelled gun. There's one on display near the beach from here. And at the bottom, HMS Ajax and HMS Argonaut. Many British personnel were present in support of the Canadian troops on Juno Beach. See the men storming the beach. It has heavy casualties. Juno Beach had the second highest casualty rate after Omaha. There's the maple leaf, which became the flag of Canada in 1965. And the Canadians, of course, had to do heavy house-to-house fighting in the three towns along the coast, Courseulles, Bernières, and Saint-Aubin. And the 1st Corps included the 3rd British Division and the 6th Airborne Division. So Pegasus Bridge is shown, taken by the Airborne, a glider that's landed, and Halifax bomber that towed them in. The men going through the streets, a duck amphibious truck, and a frogman laying explosives at the bottom of a Belgian gate. The new British Memorial at Gold Beach is a must visit to add to your D-Day itinerary. Not far away in Vers-sur-Mer is the Gold Beach America Museum. It covers events on Gold Beach and the landing of the plane called America. In 1927, Captain Byrd was attempting to set up an airmail liaison between New York and Paris. Fog caused the plane to ditch just off the coast here.